This morning while I was getting ready for work, I had the news on like I usually do, and there on the news was the tagline for the 10 o'clock news, woman awake during her surgery. She was under general anesthesia and she could feel the knife cutting her throat. And I just had to roll my eyes and I had to think, here we go again. There was that movie that came out a couple years ago about being technically awake under general anesthesia. Now we're going to resurrect this fear of patients having general anesthesia. And it once again points out how the public gets manipulated. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Bowling for Columbine, but I recently got to re-see it. And one of the most intelligent individuals quoted in that movie, oddly enough, was Marilyn Manson. When Marilyn Manson came out and said, the government and the media manipulate through fear. Yeah, from a government point of view, it's fear of the swine flu, fear of SARS, fear of anthrax. They treat people like this herd that just needs to be scared one way or another. The media does the same thing. Now, nobody markets good news. Nobody publicizes good news because that doesn't sell newspapers. That doesn't sell airtime. Fear does. Well, fear is used in plastic surgery marketing and plastic surgery manipulation all the time. Fear of general anesthesia, fear of a scar, fear of pain. With regards to fear of general anesthesia, actually there may be a small foundation to that because many years ago, general anesthesia did have significant risk. It was estimated prior to the 1980s, that it may have been as high as 1 in 10,000. But with recent advances in general anesthesia, recent advances in drugs and the monitoring, that risk in relatively healthy people is seen as somewhere between 1 in 100,000 and 1 in 200,000. Well, that's a risk we take every day without even thinking twice about it. So an unreasonable fear of general anesthesia should not be out there, but it is, because we hear stories about the one patient that was awake during their surgery. Fear of a scar. Oh my God, Americans are worried about scars. I don't want a scar. Well, the fact of the matter is plastic surgeons worry about scars too, and they work very hard to make scars as inconspicuous as possible. But sometimes scars are a necessary trade-off for the surgery that's being contemplated. Have that risk of a scar and what the scar might look like be explained to you. The sad thing is no one can predict all scars because everybody heals differently. But I would certainly beware of anybody that's touting scarless procedure, scarless surgery, because they're going out of their way to capitalize on the public's fear of a scar. Just like people that market local anesthesia only. They're capitalizing on the fear of general anesthesia. Whereas a lot of times general anesthesia is actually a much better alternative to local anesthesia. I just try to educate people to get them to put their fears under reasonable expectations. Fear can be healthy. Having a healthy respect for what you're about to do, especially if it's an elective procedure, is a good thing. But get the facts and then get more than one opinion. So that way you can reach a choice, you can reach a conclusion that's not motivated by unnecessary fear and will ultimately lead you to be a happier and more prepared patient.